So these are actually positive traits. Things like being creative, being very powerful, being independent, autonomous, etc. Exercising your own agency, right? These things have been suppressed within us, within some of us. So it's not everybody experiencing the exact same thing, but some people have experienced the repression of things that we consider to be good or positive, usually because they were told to quiet those things down within themselves. According to modern day psychology, there are two aspects of shadow work. So you have what's known as the dark shadow and also what's known as the golden shadow. I think the dark shadow is what most people think of whenever they come in contact with this term of the shadow self, right? They're just thinking about the traits that are deemed to be adverse or negative or even so bad or wrong or what have you. Things like anger, greed, selfishness, etc. And those things that we don't find desirable within ourselves and we want to get rid of. Also, there is the golden shadow. So these are actually positive traits. Things like being creative, being very powerful, being independent, autonomous, etc. Exercising your own agency, right? These things have been suppressed within us, within some of us. So it's not everybody experiencing the exact same thing, but some people have experienced the repression of things that we consider to be good or positive, usually because they were told to quiet those things down within themselves, right? Be humble, don't speak too much, don't speak too loudly. And so sometimes people start to gravitate towards repressing or suppressing those things within them, but then they have challenges later on in life, especially if their destiny is geared towards them truly expressing those aspects of themselves, right? So in many cases, the dark shadow work is about examining those behaviors and those functions that are not going to be in alignment with social standing and social repute. So things that other people obviously do not find desirable and that could get you ostracized at a high degree, right? So these things are when you know better, like subconsciously, like this is not what I should be dealing with, yet you continue to deal with it, even so with a high level of awareness, or even with you may not know it from a moral perspective, but you just know something is off with your behavior and you do want to change it. You just may not know how to change it at that level. When it comes to the golden shadow, right? This is about understanding your feelings, understanding why you are repressing these things in your life, the things that you know are good, or society at least says are good things, right? Or the desires that you have. Desires that are not going to be harmful to anybody, that are not going to be disrespectful to yourself or anybody else, but you continuously repress or suppress those things, right? And you don't know how to integrate them in a balanced way because you were told to go far left. And so you don't know how to just get it right here when obviously the behavior at some point, maybe not by you, but by somebody else, was considered to be far right. Or it could even so have been about their own insecurities, right? They saw you showing up in a certain way and they were dealing with their own shadow. And instead of them saying, wow, I wish, or I'm going to be like this because I know that I have this capacity or I desire to be like this, they tried to suppress it in you because you were showing up in a way that they desire to show up, right? So how do people identify with their shadow? So we're going to talk about this particular aspect from a modern day psychological perspective, and then we'll get into it from an IFA specific perspective, like how does IFA help us with this? If you have an intense kind of the top emotional reaction to situations, right? It oftentimes will point to some type of repressed part of yourself that is being provoked, especially when you're seeing things in other people. You see other people doing things, and you're like, well, they shouldn't be like this. And it's just really, really intense. It's too much for the situation. It's not necessitated. It's not called for in any way. It's like something that you could have just let be and kept on moving. But you dig into it, and that's usually because it is something that you yourself are dealing with internally, and you can't really stand or see somebody else dealing with it in a certain way that you desire to deal with it. So you get angry with them, right? It also shows up with people just being really, really highly judgmental of certain traits in other people. That's usually a signal that you're subconsciously suppressing something within you that needs to come out, right? So you may see somebody else out, and maybe they're talking to everybody, and they're just moving through the crowd or the room like a social butterfly, and you get really, really upset. Like, why is she talking to everybody in the room? Like, this person makes me sick. They don't need to do all of that. They just need to sit down and be quiet, and so forth and so on. When that person's behavior has no impact on you at all. Like, it's different if they're running around talking to everybody and talking about you or talking about your business, but their conversations, their actions, their activity has nothing to do with you. It's not detrimental or even so beneficial to you in either way, but you have a strong emotional charge for what they're doing. That's a sign that you need to do some work in that particular area, right? Also, if you find yourself being too heavily critical of your own self, because it shows up that way a lot too, where people have repressed certain aspects of themselves and they're trying to achieve a level of perfection, as it were, in one or multiple areas of life. And this is usually because they've been told that they were defective or deficient either in that area or maybe another area. So they're trying to make up for it in another way, right? So it may not be that exact particular trait or skill that they're trying to be perfect about, but they're trying to overdo it. We see this a lot in people who are like workaholics. They're overcompensating for something else in their life. And it may not be anything work related, but at some point in their life, they may have been made to feel inadequate in a certain space. And so they go overboard trying to make up for it in another way, such as maybe work, or even so it could be in relationships, because that happens a lot too, where people try to give their all and just be all to someone else because they didn't have that there for them. They didn't have somebody there for them, or somebody told them that they were deficient in some way. And so they try to give every aspect of themselves to another person. And, instead of really going in and dealing with the part of them that they need to deal with.